We find ourselves in the middle of a pandemic, and NHS staff are facing conditions like they've never known before. So right at the start of the pandemic, the British Psychological Society saw the need to help the NHS think about what might be the impacts on their staff. And we produced a document about caring for frontline NHS workers in the coronavirus pandemic, and we predicted what we're seeing now. So what we are seeing is that some staff are coping, that they have their own reserve, their own resilience, their own support, and they're getting through this. But what we're also seeing is there are great fears out there, fears about a second wave, fears about being able to get through the next few months. We're seeing a huge amount of anger out there as people are feeling like they've given their all and they've changed their relationship with their job because they feel that they're no longer valued for what they're doing. We're also seeing people feeling guilty. There's been a real difference between those who are on the front line, those who had to be shielding, those working in management, those working clinically. And what we're seeing is relationships are getting frayed at the edges and people are feeling guilty about not being right at the forefront of things. What I'm also really seeing is that staff haven't yet had the time to make sense of what they've seen so far. They haven't psychologically processed what they've been through. And what I'm seeing is the start of post-traumatic responses and burnout responses in the staff. And what we predicted in that first wave has seemingly come true. But what we're concerned about is how people will go on through the second and third waves of the pandemic. So what we found is that psychologists really early on wanted to help, wanted to step up, and many staff were redeployed from their current roles or actually took on additional hours and additional responsibilities. The British Psychological Society have done some work looking into the impacts of this stepping up on their psychologists, and what they've found is although psychologists have found it particularly important and wanted to help, actually now they're exhausted and they're burning out. They just simply can't sustain all of this extra work. So we know that staff were already stressed in the NHS and the pandemic has made it worse. We know that psychologists can help staff and they can help staff to make sense of their experiences, process their experiences and recover. But also psychologists can be part of the future of the NHS, designing services, designing the work conditions so that we reduce and mitigate the impacts of future stresses. Number one, we need more professional psychologists working in the NHS, working with staff. Number two, staff benefit from professional psychologists, not just in terms of individual helping, but in terms of helping groups and teams work through what they're going through right now and what they will continue to go through from here on in. Ultimately, as the NHS People Plan suggests, the aim is more staff working differently in a compassionate and inclusive culture. Please work with us. We want to work with you. We can be instrumental in transforming NHS culture.